Berlin, 1852. Adolf Anderssen has one of the most beautiful finishes in history, sitting just. It begins quietly. Anderssen pushes the king's pawn 2 squares forward, claiming the center of the way every great attacking game tends to start. Dufresne answers in kind, his own king's pawn meeting white's in the middle. 2 players, both eager to fight, both reaching for the same ground. Out comes the white knight to f3, eyeing that central pawn. Smooth, natural, unhurried. Exactly the calm before things get interesting. Black develops a knight to c6 to guard the pawn under pressure. So far, textbook stuff from both sides. Now the bishop slides to c4, aiming straight at the tender square beside Black's king. This is the bishop that will haunt Dufresne all game. Black mirrors it, the dark bishop swinging out to c5, daring white to do something bold. Anderssen is happy to oblige. Here's the famous offer, the Evans Gambit. White throws a pawn to b4, inviting the bishop to grab it. Lose a pawn, gain a storm. Dufresne accepts, the bishop snapping up the pawn on b4. He's up material, but Anderssen has bought himself something far more valuable, time and a target. A small pawn to c3 nudges the bishop and quietly builds a broad center. Patient hands at work. The bishop retreats to a5, staying on its diagonal. Black holds the extra pawn, but white's pieces are starting to lean forward, and the center erupts. A pawn to d4 cracks the position wide open. Anderssen wants lines, files, diagonals. He wants chaos he can control. Black captures on d4, taking the bait. Pawns are flying, and the board is opening exactly the way an attacker dreams about. White tucks the king to safety, castling kingside and bringing a rook toward the action. Everything is now aimed in one direction. Dufresne pushes a pawn deep to d3, hoping to clog white's coordination. Clever in spirit, but it lets Anderssen develop with menace. The white queen swings to b3, joining the bishop and staring down the soft square near Black's king. 2 heavy threats, 1 fragile point. Black brings the queen to f6 to defend that very square. The position is bristling now, both armies coiled and ready. A pawn jumps to e5, kicking the black queen and gaining ground in the center. Anderssen keeps asking questions, move after move. The queen steps aside to g6, eyeing white's kingside. Suddenly Black has counterplay of his own brewing. This is a real fight. The rook lifts to e1, pouring fuel onto the central file. Every white piece is now pointed at the heart of Black's camp. Black develops a fresh knight to e7, shoring up the defense and adding a piece to the king's side. The tension keeps climbing. Anderssen fianchettos his last bishop to a3, slicing across the board. Now both bishops gleam on long, hungry diagonals. The trap is nearly set. Dufresne lunges with a pawn to b5, trying to chase the queen and grab the initiative. Bold, but opens doors he'll wish stayed shut. The queen simply takes the pawn on b5, unbothered. Anderssen collects material and keeps his threats humming. Greed and beauty all at once. Black slides a rook to b8 to harass the queen and contest the open file. Both sides are swinging now, neither willing to flinch. The white queen glides back to a4, eyeing Black's king from afar. Calm, repositioning, but the pressure never lets up. Dufresne tucks the bishop to b6, trying to reinforce his center and stay aggressive. The board is a knot of mutual threats. Anderssen brings his last knight into play toward d2, gathering every piece for the storm. He is loading the cannon. Black develops a bishop to b7, taking aim along the long diagonal at white's king. Both players are now playing for the knockout. The knight leaps to e4, a magnificent central horse hitting Black's queen and bishop at once. Watch how every white piece now glares at the king. Dufresne's queen drops to f5, defending and threatening in the same breath. The position is a coiled spring, ready to release. The bishop snaps off the far advanced pawn on d3, clearing the path and keeping the queen in its sights. Precision under pressure. Black's queen retreats to h5, pinning hopes on a counterattack against white's own king. Both monarchs are suddenly in danger. Then Anderssen plants a knight on f6 with check, a gorgeous gesture, offering the horse right in front of the black king. Pure invitation. Dufresne captures with a pawn, but doing so shatters the shield in front of his king. The walls are coming down. A pawn recaptures on f6, and now a white pawn sits like a dagger right beside black's exposed king. The danger is unmistakable. Black swings a rook to g8, defending and threatening down the file toward white's king. Both sides are racing. Whoever lands first wins. Here Anderssen makes the move that built the legend. A rook quietly lifts to d1, ignoring his own danger, committing fully to the attack. Dufresne strikes, the queen crashing on at f3, threatening mate and capturing a piece. For one breathless instant, it looks like black is winning. But Anderssen doesn't blink. The rook smashes into e7 with check, sacrificing itself to rip the black king from its cover. Black takes the rook with the knight, grabbing yet more material. On paper, Dufresne is winning easily, and that is precisely the illusion. Now with a masterstroke, the white queen gives herself up on d7 with check, a stunning sacrifice offered to the very king she's hunting. The black king is forced to capture the queen, stepping out into the open. Anderssen has given away nearly everything, and that was the plan. A bishop slides to f5 with a quiet check, hurting the naked king. No fireworks here, just cold, elegant precision. Black's king shuffles back to e8, looking for shelter that simply isn't there anymore. The net is tightening with every step. The bishop drops to d7 with another soft check, nudging the king to its final square. Watch how gently the trap closes. Forced again, the king staggers to f8, exhausted and surrounded. Two quiet bishop checks have steered it straight into the abyss, and the second bishop lands on e7, checkmate. Anderssen wins the Evergreen Game, sacrificing a rook and his queen for an ending so beautiful it never fades.